I wanted to ask you a little bit about the different paths of yoga.
Yeah, do you want me to explain the different paths of yoga, first of
Yes,
all?
please. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the beauty again of yoga, that it presents us with different paths, which are not very different. They all kind of blend with each other. And the one that most people know about in the modern world, of course, is Hatha Yoga, physical yoga as it's often called, which is a way of harmonizing the body and the breath, and so that it also has an effect on the mind, and the mind becomes calm. And because the mind becomes calm through the physical practice, so we're enabled to meditate or pray even. If you
Mm,
can't pray, if your mind is scattered, but if your mind is focused, then prayer becomes a powerful force. So Hatha Yoga is a way of using the physical body harmoniously as a way of making us more sensitive. It's the most well known in the modern world. Uh, and then there's mantra yoga, which is sound. And as you rightly said, it's a very important part of Mandala Yoga Ashram, actually.
mm.
And we use a lot of Sanskrit chants, sounds, but it needn't be. As you know, here we chant English, French, Spanish, Hindi, um, all kinds of languages, because every language has got its beauty, actually.
Yeah.
But using sound as a way of, again, harmonizing the body and mind so that we are more sensitive and therefore more open to meditation and prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So sound is important here. Um, and Karma Yoga, yeah, Karma Yoga is an important part of the ashram, not only because it allows the ashram to function,
Yes.
things are to be done, so it's a practical thing too. There is the garden to do and the food to cook and so forth. But the thing about Karma Yoga is it puts us in the possibility of acting, doing things with our hands, with our head, whatever, and being in the present moment, not obsessed by the past, not obsessed by the future, but doing what one can to the best of one's ability in the present moment. And somehow in the ashram, people get a glimpse into its potential.
Mm.
In the big bad world where we're driven by aims uh, and objectives and so forth, it's very difficult because we're always projecting into the future and we want reward also, which is normal.
Yeah.
But if we can actually refine our mind so that we are more in the present moment, then we find that action can be a process of exposing actually our inner desires and our inner uh, tendencies, which may be need to be expressed, but there may also be blockages. There may be blockages there which prevent us looking deeper.
Mm.
And it's all a process of purification. The main text actually on Bhagavad Gita is the Bhagavad Gita. This is the main text on Karma Yoga. It defines it very, very beautifully. Ultimately, Karma Yoga really is dedicating your work to God. I mean, that's what it is.
Yes.
I don't define it in this way very often because many people wouldn't accept it. But that is actually what it is in the Bhagavad Gita. Karma Yoga is dedicating your actions to God. I mean, this is quite close to the Christian mantra, "Thy will be done." I mean, actually, it's trying to fulfill that statement, "Thy will be done,"
Mm.
and it's a very important part of the ashram. And as I say to many people when they come here, it also gives a chance for people to, whilst working, doing some task, to talk about their problems or their aspirations and so forth. And you get a lot of heart-to-heart exchanges going on whilst doing, cutting the vegetables or weeding the garden or whatever needs to be done.
Mm.
But basically, if the truth be known, Karma Yoga is fulfilling the precept, "Thy will be done." I mean, that's what it's about. Uh, Next one,
Gyan.
Bhakti Yoga. Yeah, Bhakti Yoga. Yeah. Dhyana Yoga would be meditation, and that's using different systems so that you focus the mind. It can be on a symbol, it can be on the breath, uh, can be on, yes, it can be on anything actually, on sound. And meditation is a way of focusing the mind, therefore eliminating all the chatter in the mind, all the disturbances in the mind, so that you are more receptive. So this is dhyana yoga. It's fundamental. I suppose it's something like in Christianity you would have prayer, I suppose. So that's important, dhyana yoga, very, very important part of yoga. There's also bhakti yoga, which I mentioned briefly before, which is devotion. And whatever form you relate to in relation to God, and it may be Shakti, it can be the goddess also.
Yes.
The beauty of Hinduism, in this case, is that they don't say that God is male. God can be female also. Or, as in Advaita, neither male or female. It's something that transcends all kinds of gender. But everyone has a particular, well, not everyone, many people have a particular form which they relate to. In Christianity, of course, it would be Christ.
Yeah.
So that form is a way of focusing your emotions and your attention, and it can be a very powerful way of realizing what is behind the symbol. In Hinduism, as I've mentioned, there are thousands of possibilities on this front. And of course, this is great in Islam. Of course, they don't believe in form, and that's great too. You don't need to have a form, but form is a very powerful way for many people for focusing their emotions and their devotion. And in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, it's asked, what is the best way, to have a form of God or no form? And the answer is given that for most people a form is easier, a no form is more difficult.
Okay.
But if you can get away with no form, it's better. So bhakti yoga is there. Jnana yoga is also there. Jnana yoga is the yoga of insight and reflection and contemplation. And basically it's asking fundamental questions. Who am I? What am I? What is reality? All these kind of questions, and reflecting on the question. And in the same way in science, the scientist has a problem, and they reflect on a particular problem, and if they reflect deep enough, suddenly, like Archimedes in the bath, they suddenly have a flash, and they get an inspiration as to what the answer is. So the same applies in mystical things, in terms of God, that through contemplation you may get a realization of a deeper reality. So that's Jnana Yoga.
Great.
There are other forms of yoga, but that's basically it, actually.
Fantastic.
There's Raja Yoga also. There's Raja Yoga and Swara Yoga and a few others, but that is basically it, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I was thinking about one of the Raja Yoga is one of the paths that we've been asked to look at this month. So
Okay.
it would be useful to go into that in a little bit of detail. Yes, if you could, that would be great. So what?
Yes, it's.
I mean, I suppose it's irrelevant of a path such as Raja Yoga for people now, because as you say, most people come to yoga now through Hatha Yoga, and maybe without a realization of the other paths.
Yeah, Raja Yoga has different definitions, actually, but I would define Raja Yoga as basically the following the instructions as given in the Yoga Sutra, the text by the sage Patanjali.
Yes.
And it's 4 chapters, 196 verses, I think, 192, I'm not sure. 4 chapters anyway. And it gives a step-by-step process of going deeper. So it actually eventually comes to the Ashtanga path. The Ashtanga, Ashta means 8 and Anga means limbs. The 8-limbed path. This is the Raja Yoga, actually. This is my definition. Other people may have slightly different definitions. But basically it's following the instructions according to the Yoga Sutra and the eightfold limbs. One thing you have to remember, it's often said to be the 8 steps, but they're not steps actually, they're limbs. You know, it's like in your body, you've got your arms and your legs and your head and all the rest of it. It's not that one comes before the other. They're all important as an entirety of the body. So it is with Patanjali Yoga or Raja Yoga. All the steps, they're not really steps, all the limbs have their part to play.
Yep.
So the first one is Yama and Niyama. These are the first 2 steps. And they're about purifying, really, our relationship with the world around us. So not getting too lost in greed and not getting too lost in sexual indulgence, being basically honest. All these things are involved in the yamas and niyamas. And reflection, it also would be reflection on God, Ishvara Pranidhana. Reflection on God would be part of the yamas and niyamas also. So there are 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. They're rules and regulations, 10 in total. They are ways of harmonizing our relationship with the world around and also trying to bring harmony within so that we are then prepared for the practice of Raja Yoga or Patanjali Yoga. Then the third limb becomes asana, which is not the posture, which is not the same as Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is where we use postures, sometimes dynamic postures actually. But in Patanjali Yoga, the asana is just the sitting position actually. A position that is comfortable and which allows us to go deeper. It's not concerned with twisting the body or standing on your head or anything like that, which is part of Hatha Yoga. In Raja Yoga, Patanjali Yoga, it's all about stillness, finding a position for your body which will allow you to go deeper. Is pranayama, using the breath to slow down the mind, to calm the mind, to allow the mind to be pristine, lucid. And then that's the fourth limb. And the 5th limb is the pratyahara, which means instead of your awareness going outwards, externalizing through the senses to the outside world, you allow it to internalize. So you close your eyes, point 1, that's the easy part. You close your eyes so that you shut out the vision aspect. And in this way, your awareness internalizes. This is called pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, or internalization, or introspection. And then comes dharana. This is number 6. And dharana is focusing your mind. Now that it's really focused, you focus it on something. Could be the breath, can be a sound, mantra, can be your particular vision of God, the form that you like of God, whatever. That is called dharana, focus. And then out of that comes dhyana, which is the flow of meditation, which is actually a transcendental state where you're starting then to move beyond identification with your embodied personality. That is dhyana. And then comes samadhi, which is absorption, or absorption in God actually. Samadhi means that you are in osmosis with God, consciously in osmosis. This is what samadhi is. So that's my definition of Raja Yoga. I say it does differ slightly according to other people also, but that's basically Raja Yoga. It's a step-by-step process of going deeper.
Wonderful.